Hello and welcome back to Master Meteorology Advanced, the educational weather series diving into the math and physics that drive weather. Our topic of the day is deriving the vorticity equation. Let's get started. Alright, so diving into my screen here, you see that for deriving the vorticity equation, you first start with the approximate horizontal momentum equations. Here you see this one is the approximate zonal horizontal momentum equation. We know it's zonal because we see this reoccurring u variable. If you remember from my video on horizontal momentum equation, the u represents dx dt, so change in the eastward direction. So think of this as velocity from San Francisco to New York. And here you see the approximate meridional horizontal momentum equation. You know it's meridional because of the v. That's dy dt. So velocity from San Francisco to Canada, it's northward. So we start with these two equations, and from these two equations we can derive the vorticity equation. Before we get into the exact steps, I'm going to go over two things you should keep in mind throughout this video. One is what vorticity is equal to. You see it's the sigma that represents, that's the symbol for vorticity, and it's equal to dv dx minus du dy. And here you see the continuity equation is du dx plus dv dy plus dw dp, and that is equal to 0. Now you might not know why this is important yet, but keep these in mind because they are crucial in deriving the vorticity equation. So moving on to step 2, we are going to differentiate the zonal component with respect to y. So you know this is the zonal component once again because it has that reoccurring u variable, and differentiate means we're taking d dy of this zonal component. So when we do that, you might be surprised that it wasn't 4 terms. It seems like if you multiply one term against 4 terms, you're going to get 4 terms, but the reason we get 7 is because of the chain rule. You see here, when it goes into this term, we just get d squared u dy dt. But when it goes into this term, that term turns into 2 terms, and that's because of the chain rule. You see the first time it goes in, it just gets distributed into that du dx. That becomes d squared u and dy dx, and then the u is left alone. The second time it goes in, it just affects the u variable. So now we have du dy, and that du dx is the term that's left alone. And you see that happens with the other 2 terms in the parentheses. Next, we're going to differentiate the meridional component with respect to x. So now we have the meridional component, differentiate with respect to x. And as you could probably guess, the same thing happens. That first term just turns into 1, this one turns into 2, and as do those last 2 terms. Now that that's out of the way, we are going to subtract the zonal component from the meridional. So here you see the meridional, oops, I clicked forward 1. Here you see the meridional component, you got a little sneak peek of step 5. And we are going to subtract the zonal component. So basically all those terms just become negative. And in step 5, we're going to organize like terms. You've probably been wondering why these are color-coded, and that's going to make a lot more sense in this next step. So just looking, before I click forward, what do you think the like terms are here? Well, it's probably pretty easy to see since they're all color-coded, but why? Here you see this one, it's d squared, that has a d squared, this one is ud squared, this one is vd squared, and you see in both of those green terms that they're vd squared, and you don't see that anywhere else in the equation. So we're going to organize those like terms. So you see, it's a little easier because they're color-coded, but everything that has those similar terms are now together. And you'll also notice that because they're all on one side of the equation, the right side of the equation says it's equal to 0. Now moving on to step 6, this is just that final equation that we're left with in step 5, and we're going to take out common variables. Now before I just show you how to do this, let's try to think of what some of the common variables are. So looking at this first term, you see it has a v, but there's no v in that one. In this one, there's a dx, but there's no dx in that one. And d dt, oh, we do see that reoccurs, so that's probably going to be what's taken out. In this one, first thing I notice is that u is the same, and then I also notice a d dx. So we're probably going to get a u dx out of that term. And you can imagine you go through each one of these and just pick out the like terms. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And you might notice something kind of amazing happened. Inside the parentheses, we now have the exact same thing for every single term. It is this dv dx minus du dy. And if you remember from the beginning of the video, there was something I told you to remember, and it was the equation for vorticity. Well, that's going to come back up, and we're going to substitute sigma in for all those dv dx minus du dy's. This is going to make the equation a little prettier. We can now fit it on one line, which is pretty nice. And I'd say that's pretty good for that term. That's really not too complicated. It's just a substitution. So we're going to move on to step 8, which is solving for d sigma dt. This is another easy step. If I solve for d sigma dt, I mean just leave that on the left-hand side and bring all those to the right-hand side. When you do that, they're going to turn negative. And there's something else that I want to point out. You see, in this numerator and this numerator and this numerator, there was no variable along with that d term up there. So in that case, the sigma got distributed into there. You see that sigma goes in right there. Whereas in this one, there was a du up there, so the sigma stayed on the outside. What I did was I collected all those terms where the sigma got distributed on kind of the left side, and I I collected the terms that still had sigma on the outside on the right side. Hopefully that wasn't too wordy. Basically, if sigma's still on the outside, I collected those on the right side. And that's going to be important for this next step. In step 9, we're going to take out that negative sigma from the last 3 terms and then use the continuity equation. So when we take out that negative sigma, see it's taken out right there, and what are we left with? du dx plus dv dy plus dw dp. That actually might be an omega. I'll have to check on that. I think it is d omega dp. And that should probably look pretty familiar. I also gave you a nice clue right there. We're going to be using the continuity equation. So here you see continuity equation, du dx, dv dy, d omega dp equals 0. What do we do when something's equal to 0? That's right, we just cancel it out. So what we are left with is the vorticity equation. So now let's go through this term by term to just kind of, right now it's all a bunch of symbols and terms and you probably have no idea what I'm even talking about. So let's go through term by term and just give a brief overview of what each of these things actually represents in real life. So what we solve for, this d sigma dt, that is the rate of change of vorticity with respect to time. And you'll notice it is a Eulerian derivative. That means it's at a fixed location. If this was a normal d like you'd see in the alphabet, that means it's Lagrangian, which means you're following the parcel, so you're moving with it. Whereas when it's like this, that's called Eulerian local derivative, and it's at a fixed location. So that's just how much is vorticity changing at that location with respect to time. Now for this next term, I'm going to bunch these two together because they both represent the horizontal. The u and v means horizontal because it's on the same plane. One goes east, one goes north. That kind of thing. So that is the horizontal vorticity advection. Kind of how I think of this is if you have a vorticity maximum, it's really high vorticity at, let's say, San Francisco again. San Francisco is your vorticity maximum. Just to the east of that, this u, the eastward flow, is going to be pushing that vorticity maximum into that location east of it. So that location east is now getting advection that is of a higher level, so that is positive vorticity advection. You can imagine the reverse is also true. If San Francisco had a vorticity minimum, and then that eastward flow pushed it east to a new location, that location would have negative vorticity advection. And you could probably guess what this last term is. Omega represents the vertical, so it's vertical vorticity advection. So we're just going over what we did. We basically started with the zonal and meridional horizontal momentum equations and did some manipulations, none of them being too difficult, and we basically end up with the vorticity equation. As a reward and thank you for watching the entire video, I'm giving you a free PDF download of the video slides so that you can go back over the material, and a free PowerPoint download so that you can go through it step by step. You can find those resources by clicking the link in the description or by going to holthanleyweather.com. As always, if you learned something new in this video, click subscribe so that you can learn more in the future, and click more videos to start that learning now. Thanks for watching.